For this lesson, let's go File, New again. So go up to the word File on the pull-down menu and New and give yourself a place to play. You know mine, Web 960 by 560. Let's talk about these features that we have. Let's talk about effects and how we can share them. I learned at school how to share. It's a good thing to do. I'm going to draw a star. You can draw anything you want, really. It doesn't matter. And let's give that star a color. Any color that you want. And let's draw a second shape, different, like maybe the polygon. Haven't used that one in a while. And let's give that a color. Okay. Let me pick up my selection tool, move this one down, something like that. Okay, we want to apply effects to our items, and we love that because they're temporary, they're non-destructive, we can change our mind, we can do anything we want to. So we pick the star, I suppose, and we come up here to the word effect. Let's go into roughen under distort and transform. And let's move that so we can see it. Click preview. Now in roughen you have a size. Now size is basically how far distant from the original path all of these different shapes go. And if you lower that down, obviously it's going to be a little less aggressive. This is relative, and that's a little bit more random, where absolute is a little bit more controlled. And let's make that a little bit more this way so we can see it. Detail is how many points there are. So that looks like somebody's had a little bit too much caffeine today. That's all right. You have a smooth option, and that was so slight you could hardly see it. What it does, if you've got really long size-wise, you got really long ones going on back and forth, it will round them more on the edges. Corner is more sharp. And I like that. I'm happy. I got a 15 and a 20, which if I needed those numbers again, I suppose would be easy to remember. Click OK. Now let's say, for the sake of argument, that what we want to do is we like that enough and we want to apply it to another object like our polygon over here. So we could select the polygon and we could come up to the word effect and we could go back down to distort and transform and go into roughen, but you will notice they're back to the default numbers. So you have to remember the ones you had. Like I said, that wouldn't be too hard, but I don't want to do it that way. I don't want to have to write down numbers in case next week I want to use it again. Doesn't make sense. But we're talking about not next week, are we? We're talking about right now. So if I go back up to the word effect on the pull-down menu, you will notice you have an apply option right here. And apply will apply the last thing you did. Now that's important to remember. It's the last filter you did. If you do another filter, or actually effect, it's not going to use that one. It's going to have whatever the last effect was. But if you're here and you click there, there you go. What you want to do is apply another roughen, but basically it's going to be different than that one. But you don't want to come up here. You don't want to go down to distort and transform and come over here and then down here. That's just too much work. It's like having a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but you just can't see opening up two jars and putting peanut butter and jelly on the bread, so you just stick with one because you don't want to open two jars. I heard that from a comic one time. I've got roughen right up here. If I select that, it'll reopen and then I can play around. Okay, notice though it did give me the same numbers as this one. Click cancel again. We're dealing with the best case scenario. And by that I mean, you've got it, you just did it, you want it again. What if it is tomorrow? Well, if it's tomorrow, under effect, you're not going to see roughen, okay? You're not going to see roughen because you've reopened the document. How do I get it over there? Well, let me show you a couple of ways to do that. Number one, let's go into our layers panel. Okay, in layers, we only have one layer. It's a brand new document. It should say layer 1. We got show hide buttons, all kinds of fun stuff. If we open the layer up, see this little triangle right here? If you click that, it expands the layer and you will see every single object you have defined as a path. And we've got these two right here. There's the polygon and there is the star. Now over here, you have a little circle. If you click the circle, that will select the item that you're clicking on. Notice the difference between that circle and that circle. This one's filled in. If you see a filled in circle, basically what you have is an effect applied to the image. If you want to apply that same effect to another object right now or 2 weeks later, all you have to do is drag it. Now if I click and drag this, watch what happens. It actually moved it. Now it also moved the color. We'll talk about that in a second. And any effects like strokes, fills, all that stuff's going to move too. Let me undo that. I don't want to move it. I want to copy it. So hold the Alt key, that's the Option key on a Mac. Come back up here again and drag it up that way. Now, again, it is doing that dance of the colors and the strokes and the fills, and everything is going across. Let's undo that one more time. There are a couple of ways you can pull this off. One of the ways I've found through just the way I work, and it's a habit, it's using the eyedropper tool. Now understand, if I come over here and pick up my eyedropper tool and I click here, it doesn't just pick up the color and the stroke. Remember that. If I double click on the eyedropper tool, you get all kinds of stuff. Overweights and prints and joins and miters and transparencies and just about everything, including if it's a character style and paragraph. But it doesn't say anything about effects, does it? That's the problem. If I click OK, if I come over here to apply it, you hold down the Alt key, Option key on a Mac, your eyedropper kind of switches gears there, and you apply, but it didn't get the effect, did it? So here's a trick. Let's say that this has a unique stroke on it, has a unique fill, whatever it is, it's very unique to that item, and all you want is the effect. Now, this is not the only way you do it, but we'll talk more about that in another lesson when we get into the appearance panel. But try something like this. Click on this one. So the eyedropper is now holding the characteristics of that image. Now, come up here, hold down the Alt key, Option on a Mac, right? And drag it up, and you've got everything. But you still have the original over here, don't you? And with the eyedropper selected, if you hold the Alt key, Option key on a Mac, and click, it will restore all that other stuff for you. When you get in the habit of using the shortcut keys and stuff like that so you can kind of switch gears very easily, that's actually a pretty quick way to do it. Now, it's not the only way, but it is a method to get the original character of the particular object there and then put the effect on it at the same time. So once we make one of these things, we have control over what we do with it.